Assalamu alaikum. This is my lecture number 11 in Advanced Cost Accounting for Accounting and Custom Departments students, 4th year. Today, Bismillah, I will complete speaking about sales variances analysis. In previous lecture, I told you that I can analyze sales variances concentrating on, do you remember? Concentrating on sales price or sales revenue, or concentrating on contribution margin. If you know how to analyze according to 4 levels, I mean sales variances using sales price, it will be very simple for you to analyze the same variances using contribution margin. So from my point of view, I consider this lecture as a revision of sales variances analysis. Regardless, I speak about using sales price or contribution margin. Here, remember, I have 4 levels for sales variance analysis. The first one, I will calculate budget variance. Again, I will calculate budget variance. Budget variance, the difference between actual and budget. Here I speak about contribution margin. So I compare between the total contribution margin, actual I mean, and the total budgeted contribution margin. In the second level, we analyze budget variance to 2 variances. Yes, the first one, contribution margin variance, and the second, sales volume variance, contribution margin and sales volume. In third level, we analyze the volume variance. Again, we analyze the volume variance to sales mix variance and sales quantity variance. Sales mix and sales quantity. In the last level of analysis, yes, we analyze sales quantity to market size and market share variances. Again, market size and market share. So I speak about 7 kinds of variances: the budget, and then contribution margin, volume, then we analyze volume to mix and quantity, and then we reanalyze quantity to market size and market share. The same map of variance analysis, I will use it in sales price. When I use sales price in determining variances of sales. The difference between my lecture today and the previous lecture is the amounts. In previous lecture I used sales price, but today I will use contribution margin. Okay, but the same calculations, the same equations, the same meaning of variances. Okay, don't forget our science in analyzing sales variance have opposite meaning. I mean, in analyzing cost variances, if the sign is positive, we say unfavorable. but in revenues or in profits, if my sign is positive, it will be favorable. Okay, don't forget. Let me calculate and analyze the variances of sales using contribution margin. Here I have an example. ABC company has two products, X and Y, and this its information for X and Y. Here I have product X, actual and budget, and product Y, actual and budget also. Sales units for both of them, sales revenue, variable cost, don't forget sales revenue minus variable cost will equal contribution margin, minus fixed cost will equal operating income. Very simple income statement using contribution margin format, if you remember in managerial accounting. And we have also actual industry sales units or actual market sales units, 280,000, but budgeted industry sales or budgeted market sales, 200,000 units. Here I have the information of each product. My requirement is to calculate all variances of sales using contribution margin. Again, using contribution margin, I mean calculating budget variance, then contribution margin variance, sales volume variance. After calculating sales volume, we analyze the volume to mix variance, quantity variance, and we analyze quantity variance to market size and market share. Okay, don't forget these my variances, the same equations like the previous lecture. Do you remember the first step? Again, the first step to analyze cost or sales, you have to calculate your amounts. You have to prepare the table. Again, this is my table for contribution margin. Here I have only two kinds of products, X and Y, and I need actual sales, actual contribution margin per unit, and actual sales contribution margin, I mean total contribution margin actually. Here also we have budget sales, budget contribution margin per unit, and the total contribution margin, the total budgeted contribution margin. Okay, at the top of this slide, if you see, we have the part of our problem here. We have A, actual I mean, and budget for X, and actual and budget for Y. Here I have sales unit, sales revenue, variable cost, contribution margin. It is the total for X and Y. So if I can get actual sales for X. Yes, actual sales 5,600. Yes, 1,600. I need actual contribution margin per unit. I don't have, but I have the total contribution margin for X. Okay, so I can use what I have and complete my table of information. Okay, what I have here is units and the total contribution margin. Again, units. See, I have actual sales units for X and Y, and the total contribution margin for X and Y. I have actual and budget. If I have actual sales and the total contribution margin actually, so it's very simple. How can I calculate the actual contribution margin per unit for X? So it's very simple, very simple. I will divide, yes, total contribution margin 5,880 by actual sales, I mean the total contribution margin divided by actual sales for X here 5,600, so I can get the contribution margin per unit. Yes, 1.05. By the same way, I can calculate actual contribution margin per unit of Y. Here I have the total contribution margin 4,760 and the units are 2,800, so I can calculate the actual contribution margin per unit for Y. Okay, 1.7. Okay, what about budgeted contribution margin per unit? For X, very simple, 6,000, so will equal 1, and for Y will equal 1.8. Now I have everything inside my table. I have 3 information actually, and the same 3 information according to budget. Okay, if I have this table and I complete all calculations of this table, I can start analyzing sales variances using contribution margin. Okay, the first variance is budget variance. How to calculate budget variance? Here I speak about contribution margin, don't forget. So actual contribution margin, actual total contribution margin minus budgeted total contribution margin from my table. Again, from my table. In my table, I have everything to calculate variances. Okay, so what is the budget variance for X, for example? For X, yes, 5,880 minus 6,000. Again, actual firstly, total contribution margin for X minus, yes, the total contribution margin budgeted for X also. This is my budget variance. Again, this is my budget variance. For X, it's negative. Negative means unfavorable. But for Y, it is positive, favorable. And the difference between them here, the total budget variance for the company from all products, positive here. It's positive. Okay? The second step, after calculating budget variance, I analyze budget variance into 2 variances. Okay, you remember? The first one or the second variance here, according to my requirements, contribution margin variance. Contribution margin variance. Contribution margin here, yes, actual contribution margin per unit minus budget contribution margin per unit times actual sales units. Don't forget, when I speak about variance, contribution margin variance, actual contribution margin minus budget contribution margin. Okay, So I need here three kinds of information from my table. I need what? Yes, actual contribution margin per unit, budget contribution margin per unit, and don't forget actual sales. Again, actual sales. For example, for X 10.5 minus 1, 10.5 minus 1 times 5,600. And for Y 1.7 minus 1.8 times 2,800. Here I have the contribution margin variance for X positive 280, favorable, but for Y negative 280 also, but unfavorable. So the total of sum is 0. Again, the contribution margin variance total here is 0. The third variance, sales volume variance. Again, sales volume. Volume, speak about units. Actual sales units minus budgeted sales units times, yes, budgeted contribution margin per unit. Budgeted contribution margin per unit. So I need, yes, actual sales units, budgeted sales units, and budget contribution margin. For example, for X, units actually for X 5,600 minus 6,000 times 1. Again, times 1. And for Y 2,800 minus 2,000 times 1.8. And then calculate the total sales volume variance. Here the total sales volume is 1,040. Okay? Don't forget, we analyze the budget variance into two variances. So the sum of these two variances must equal the budget variance. So you have to check your answer before completing. Here my budget variance must equal the total of contribution margin and sales volume. Contribution margin, if you remember, 0, and here I have sales volume 1,040, so the total 1,040. This is the amount of budget variance. In the third level, we analyze volume variance. Again, we analyze volume variance. To what? The first one is mix variance. Again, mix variance. How to calculate mix variance? I need actual sales minus actual sales at budgeted mix percentage times budgeted contribution margin. Again, budgeted contribution margin per unit. So my problem here is to calculate. Here in my table, again in my table, I have actual sales and I have budgeted contribution margin per unit, but I don't have in my table actual sales at budgeted mix percentage. So I have to calculate this new units. Okay, do you remember? I will repeat again. Here I have actual sales from my table, number 1, budgeted sales in my table, number 3, but in the middle I have to recalculate actual sales using the percentage of budgeted sales mix. Okay, again Here I have actual sales for X and Y. The total is 8,400, and the budget sales for X and Y also, the total is 8,000. And what about my problem? My problem in number 2, 3 steps. The first one, yes, I need the total of actual sales. This is the first step. The second step, I need the budget mix percentage. Again from number 3. How to calculate the percentage? Very simple. The total of budgeted sales 8,000, X 6,000, and Y 2,000. What is the percentage of X? Very simple. 6,000 divided by 8,000. 6,000 divided by 8,000 will equal 75%. Again 75%. What about Y? 2,000 divided by 8 will equal 25. Don't forget that the total of the percentage must equal 100%. Again, the first step, I need the total actual sales, the total of the first column. The second step, I will use the last column, number 3, to calculate the percentage. What about number 2? I recalculate the actual sales using the percentage 75 and 25. Okay? The total actually 8,400. What about X? The amount of X will equal 8,400 times 75%. Again, 8,400 times 75%, yes, will equal 6,300. I will repeat the calculation using Y. Okay, what about Y? The total is 8,400, but the percentage times percentage here for Y, 25%, will equal 2,100. Don't forget the total of them must equal the total of actual sales. Okay? After calculating actual sales using the budgeted mix percentage, I will use the difference between 1 and 2 to calculate the mix variance, and I will use the difference between 2 and 3 to calculate the sales quantity variance. Again, sales quantity variance. Okay? This is my sales mix variance. Actual sales minus actual sales at budget mix percentage times budget contribution margin per unit. Here I have from the table actual sales, or from my previous slide I have all my information. Okay, for A, this is my actual sales for A, minus according to the budget max percentage, times here from my table I can see 1 here is a contribution margin budgeted for X, okay, and also for Y. The total of mix variance here is positive 560. 560. Favorable, positive, favorable. Variance number 5, quantity variance. Again, quantity variance. Here I will use the difference between 2 and 3. I mean actual sales at budget mix percentage minus budget sales, and I will use the same contribution margin per unit budgeted. Okay, these amounts already I calculate all of them. For example, for Y, actual sales at budget mix percentage 6,300 minus 6,000 is here from my table. I can see 6,000 here for X. It's a budgeted sales, and also 1 is the budget contribution margin. Okay, the total of sales quantity variance here is positive 480. 480. After calculating quantity variance, I have to check my answer. Don't forget sales volume variance. In third level, I analyze sales volume. So the total of sales volume variance must equal the total of sales mix and sales quantity. Sales mix and sales quantity. The total of sales mix and sales quantity here will equal positive 1040, favorable. This is the amount of sales volume. After calculating sales mix and sales quantity, I can go to the last level of analysis. I mean, I will analyze the quantity variance or sales quantity variance. To what? Do you remember? Yes. Market size variance. And the last one, if you remember, market share variance. What about market size variance? The same equation. Again, the same equation in previous lecture, but instead of using budgeted sales price, I will use budgeted contribution margin. Okay, market size. When I say market size, so I need actual market size minus budgeted market size, and then budgeted market share times weighted average of budget contribution margin. Again, weighted average of budget contribution margin. So I need 4 amounts: actual market size, budgeted market size, and my share in budgeted market, and weighted average of budget contribution margin. Okay, if I go back to my main problem, I will find at the top of this slide, you will find actual industry sales units and budget industry sales units. It means actual market size here and budgeted market size. Actual market size is 280 and budgeted market size 200. So I need to calculate budgeted market share. Nothing new. This is my equation to calculate my budget market share. My equation is budgeted sales units, my budgeted sales units divided by budgeted market size. Okay, when I speak about budgeted market share, I will divide budget over budget. Budget sales units of the company divided by budget market size of my industry. Okay, budget sales units, if you remember, 8,000 for the total of X and Y, and budget market size, we have already budget market size here. My industry is 200,000. So it will equal 4%. Again, 4%. What about weighted average of budget contribution margin? Yes, I need to calculate budget sales units of X times budget contribution margin of X plus budget sales units of Y times budget contribution margin of Y divided by budget units of X and budget units of Y. Or I told you, if you remember, I can use my table, what I prepared at the beginning of this solution of this problem, I can divide the total contribution margin of all products divided by the total of budget units of all products. Again, total contribution margin divided by total of budget units of all products. Okay, here if I go back to my problem and I use the budgeted side of information, not actual, all of them budgeted. Okay, I will get my weighted average here, weighted average for my budget contribution margin here. Here I have only two kinds of products, but in the previous lecture, if you remember, I have three kinds of products. Here I have only X and Y. 1.2, again 1.2. If I have actual market size, budgeted market size, and budgeted market share, and my weighted average here, I can calculate the market size variance. Again, I can calculate the market size variance. My market size variance here will equal only one amount, positive 3,840, favorable. Again, favorable. The last variance, yes, it's market share variance. We need here actual market share. I don't have actual market share, so I have to calculate it, but already I have from previous variance budget market share, and I have actual market size, and I calculated weighted average of budget contribution margin. So three of what I need to calculate market share, I have them, but the first one, actual market share, I have to calculate it. Actual market share, I don't have actual market share. The same equation like calculating budgeted market share, but instead of using budgeted amounts, I will use actual amounts. So here I have, or I need, actual sales units divided by actual market size. Actual sales units, I speak about the total actual sales of all products here. Yes, 8,400, and I need actual market size. Actual market size here 2,080, 80,000, 280,000, sorry. So the percentage will equal 3%. Again, 3%. Budgeted market share, I calculated budget market share 4%. Actual market size here is given 280,000, and I calculated also the weighted average. I can calculate also the market share. Okay, the market share variance. Here's the market share variance. Negative will be unfavorable. Negative 3,360. 3,360. After calculating the last variance, I mean market share variance, I have to check my answer again. The quantity variance must equal the market size and the market share variances. This is the total of them. Okay? After finishing all variances, I can summarize my solution. If you remember, I have 4 levels. What is the first one? This is my amount of budget variance. What are the reasons of budget variance? 2, contribution margin variance. Here I don't have. And sales volume variance. In third level, yes, I analyze the volume variance mix and quantity. Mix and quantity. And the total of mix and quantity must equal volume, don't forget. The last level is analyzing quantity to market size and market share. Again, market size and market share. Okay? From a point of view, analyzing using contribution margin or sales price is the same. Very simple calculations and equations. Okay? Today, I can say I finished speaking about sales variances analysis, and in next lecture I'll make بإذن الله many revisions of sales and cost variance analysis. Okay? Thank you. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.